Okay, I think we are live. Yes, we are live. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Here is Simone Vincenzi from GTEx, and I'm here today with the one and the only Rasheed Ogunlaru. Give us a wave, Rasheed.
Hi there, Simone. And it's funny, you say the one and only Rasheed Ogunlaru. I discovered about a year ago there is another Rasheed Ogunlaru on the planet. How spooky is that? So there is another one somewhere.
There is another one. So
But
you're
I'm
the one and the only of your kind.
I'm the one and only me.
And you're the one and the only you. Fantastic. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining in this new webinar that we are doing for supporting and inspiring you, living really a life of purpose. So today, what is the title of the webinar? Find yourself, find your path. And when we were talking with Rasheed, we were really finding something that was really core for both of us. And both of us, we really strongly believe that when we really find ourselves, when we find a special thing inside us, we can really see that we've found our path, and then we can really go straight on without doubt, with clarity, direction, and focus. And I'm sure that Rasheed can agree with me. So he's going to share with us in a couple of minutes some really key tools and tips that you can use, and he has used it in his own life to really connect with his own path. So first of all, before we start, what is GTEx? For those of you that are new, you're saying, who is this guy? Who is this Italian dude with curly hair, quite good looking as well? Well, thank you very much for saying that. So who is Simone? Well, my name is Simone Vincenzi, and I'm the co-founder of GTEx, Growing Together Exponentially. We are really passionate about inspiring coaches, entrepreneurs, and professionals finding their true purpose in life so they can live their life of abundance and fulfillment that they really love. Really earning money doing what they love every single minute of their life. And the way we do that is through different courses, online courses, seminars, webinars, and these GTEx shows that we are creating here for you with global experts like Rasheed. So if you are interested to find out more about all that we do, just go on our website www.gtex.org.uk, and you will find loads of useful tips, tools, and techniques and content that can help you taking your life to the next level. Well, I love to speak, and I've been speaking for too long now, so it's time for me to, with great pleasure, to introduce you to Rasheed. He's a life coach, a motivational speaker, and a business corporate coach. He's also the author of Soul Trader, Putting the Heart into Your Business. And when I met Rasheed, when we connected immediately, we were at the Brahma Kumaris, one of the largest spiritual organizations in the world, and we were supporting them, delivering in their Christmas party, right, Rasheed?
That's right. That's right.
The Christmas party. And Rasheed, you were singing. What song were you singing there?
Merry Christmas, War is Over by John Lennon, Yoko Ono.
Indeed. And while he was singing, I was in the other room preparing myself for playing the didgeridoo. And immediately, after the performance, we connected. We were talking in the tube, going home, and we decided, okay, we really need to do something together and share this message. And one thing that I really love about Rasheed is his heart. Is completely there, is present for the people that he coaches, is really has a message inside that wants to share. I listened to his podcast while I was working, and it gave me this extra boost and extra motivation. So obviously I will tell you a bit more about how can you find out about his amazing podcast as well. Without further ado, Rasheed,
Hey, thank you.
Yours. Hi.
Well, thank you so much, Simone. You know what? Thank you, first of all, for those very warm words. It's always really lovely when somebody says warm words So it's nice to just take a moment just to hear that. So thank you very much. And it's a pleasure meeting you a while ago. And it was quite funny when we met at this particular event because my background before being a singer, being a coach and a motivational speaker was a singer. So it's quite funny that I happened to be singing in that situation. But very, very briefly, for those who are listening, a little bit about myself. But then it'd be great to talk about this thing about finding your own self and finding your own path, which I know people who are listening to this and people who find you through GTEx and your other work will be interested in. So I'm Rasheed Ogunlaru. I was born in London to Nigerian parents. A very ordinary upbringing, although it's my mum mainly who brought us up. At 18, I left. I started work. I decided I wasn't going to go to university, but I realised that if I wasn't going to go to university, I'd have to probably work harder than others. So at that moment was one of the first moments that I realised that I really needed to put myself forward and to trust and to follow my own abilities and to be as best as I could be in being me. So I ended up working in the world of media and public relations. I first of all worked for the Witch stable of magazines and books. I used to love that, and I loved the bits that had to do with people because, as you can tell, I'm a people person. And I became responsible after a while for training people to appear on TV and radio and sending them on courses. And I became a media trainer. I sometimes got to represent the organisation on television and on radio, and those are the things that I loved. And those things to do with training, way back a long time ago, that was probably the birthplace of me really becoming a coach, because we used to train people to appear on TV and radio, and I used to kind of help them to build their confidence on screen. And that was a really long time ago. You know, it's that's going back over now. You know, that's almost 20 years ago. So that was the birthplace really of.
So when you were 10.
When I was 10 years old. Thank you very much. That's so kind. Yeah. So that was the birthplace of that. And after 10 years of being there, I was made redundant. I asked myself again what I wanted to do, and I pursued my passion, which was singing and performing. And really, it was that, and I'd intended to be a really successful singer and songwriter. But along that path, my spiritual, if you like, with a small s, journey began of finding my own self. I met my best friend, who was also a singer and performer, who was really interested a lot into spiritual growth. I'd had a long-term interest in. I'd had an interest in personal development, so I'd read some personal development kind of stuff, but he'd also had a real interest in the spiritual development as well as obviously the music. So that was interesting. And then as I was pursuing the music, what also happened was I'm meeting all these people who struggled with life balance, confidence, and so on. So I became interested in helping them. And to cut a long story short, I retrained as a coach because my friend and I wanted to help singers and performers to take charge of their own lives. And then once I trained as a coach, I thought, well, hang on a minute, I don't want to just work with singers and performers, I want to work with people of all backgrounds. So for the years, I worked with pop stars, I worked with politicians, some singers, as you can imagine, people in media, but most of my clients are people who are starting and growing their own business, because, as you know, Simone, if you're starting your own business, then you are your product. You've got to be a performer. You've got to be able to connect with people. So when I started in business, I knew nothing about business, but I knew a lot about PR and media because that had been my background. And I also knew a lot about singing, connecting with people, because I'd been a performer. So I was very fortunate that some of those skills are very, very useful. So that's a little bit about me. And the only other thing that is interesting, I guess, to note was that for a period of time during that journey, I became a volunteer for the Samaritans that support people when they're low or if they're feeling suicidal and so on. And I became a co-director of the Samaritans. So all of these things, you know, how life is a very funny thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about this. That whole journey. On the one hand, I can say, first of all, I started in media, and then I wanted to be a singer, and then I wanted to be a life coach. On one hand, it was planned. On another hand, I look at it and it's a complete surprise to me. But what doesn't surprise me is if you look at all of the different threads, it all adds up to what I do now. So I know that I'm on track with my path because I get to sing and perform, although sometimes through the singing and performing of connecting with people through talks, through workshops, through books, through products, and so on. So I've certainly enjoyed finding my path, or my path finding me.
And it's really interesting, like listening to your journey and what you've been through. And it's fantastic because sometimes, you know, when people come to you and they say, so what's my purpose in life? Or I'm confused, I don't know. And I guess that the answer is very simple, as is showing also in your journey. Like, follow what you love, follow what you're really passionate about. You don't know what's next. but at least you know that you're enjoying what you're doing, you are performing also at your maximum level, because obviously you are involved in that. And then it's like, I don't know what's next. And is that uncertainty, but it's like the certainty in the uncertainty, if it makes sense. And the question that I really want to ask you is that now, why do you believe that when you find yourself, you find your path? Like, why is that important?
Well, I think it's hugely important because I think that so many people there's a big pressure, isn't it, that from very, very early on to somehow be bigger than, better than, brighter than you currently are. So from when people find themselves very, very early on, 5, 6, 7, 8, oh, you're good, but if you could only get an A as opposed to B, if you're better in your class, if you're a little bit taller, if you're a little bit shorter, a little bit slimmer, or whatever. So there's always this idea that people should be different or better than they actually are, or that they should be more like somebody else. So I think the problem is that lots of people, by the time they get into their adulthood, there's this huge tension about who they are, or they don't like their self, or this notion that they have of their self. So for me, it's really important to really find yourself and ask yourself, hang on a minute, are all these things that I've pursued because I've been told I should be doing this, or I should be an accountant, or I should be a lawyer because my father or my mother was a lawyer, an accountant, or a doctor, is this actually true? Is this actually true to me? So there comes a point, usually some point in our adulthood, it might come in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or later, that there's this question, hang on a minute, does any of my life have anything to do with me? Does it resonate with me, what I'm doing? Does it feel right to me? So it is really important to ask oneself these questions. And people who are very spiritually wise will say the most important question is, who am I? You know, who are you? And is that person who you are, who you've been told that you are, the person who should be the lawyer or the doctor, or you somebody else? And often it's only when people are made redundant or when there's a question about their career that then all of a sudden they doubt themselves, because their whole idea of themselves has been based on their career. So it's so important, because so many people will be wrestling with this. They don't feel good enough, or they're not sure about their career, often because they've been told this is who you are, or this is who you should be, or that you should be better. But all of that is nonsense.
It is, and it's like our society conditioning us to believe that we have to do something, or we have to be better than other people, as you were saying, or we have to be better than ourselves. I was actually, before having a session with a client, and it was asking me, like, how, as I really want always to improve, I always want to constantly improve and be better, and that's fine. But what happens is that, I'm sure you agree with me, is sometimes in this, as life feels striving and never arriving.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I'm doing, and I'm improving, and I'm growing, but I don't feel right.
Right. You said it there. Striving but never arriving. I love that. So true.
Well, what do you think about that? Like, what would you recommend for people that are like striving and never arriving?
I'm saying, you know, sometimes the moment you stop seeking is the moment when you find. You know, sometimes the moment of stopping seeking, you will funny enough find something. Do you know what I mean? So the problem in life is exactly what you described, this striving and never arriving. If you think about it, people want two things in life. They want success. Now, the success is conditioned based on what they've been told. Successful in first of all, their exam results, to get the right job, to get the right house, to get the right partner, to get the right body shape, and all of this stuff. So they want success. That will vary from person to person, but they want this basket full of stuff that they call success. And they want happiness. They want to be at peace. They want to be happy. The myth, as I call it, of modern living is that success leads to happiness, that once I get the right body shape, the right exams, the right partner, the right thing, I'll be happy. That's complete myth. It's complete illusion. It's not true, because I've got this idea that success is going to make me happy, but I've never been to success, so how do I know what success is going to look like? It's a bit like me saying that I want to, you know, I can have ideas about what it's like in Antarctica, but I might be disappointed because when I arrive in Antarctica, it might be 10, 15 degrees colder than I thought. It might be completely different than my imagination. So there's this idea of success, and there's this idea of happiness. So there comes a point where, as an adult, it is wise for us to look at again and afresh, what do I know about my life? What do I know about myself? What really feels true to me? What of all the things I've been told about myself feel true to me? Because this is why so many people feel so uncomfortable with themselves, so unhappy because they're trying to be who it is that they've been told that they are, or who they've been told that they should be. And that sooner or later this will cause stress, it will cause disease, it will cause unhappiness, or the relationships will be a struggle, or all of a sudden, even if things seem to be going well, you've got that fantastic job, all of a sudden something happens personally, or the job goes, or you have ill health, and then all of a sudden, who are you? So this self question is so important. Who am I? And then I love the thing you were saying before, Simone, about this thing about certainty, because also with the success journey is this idea of that there's some kind of certainty. You know, success may come, it may go. It may last for a short period of time, it may last for a long period of time. So success is a very funny animal. The only success that nobody can take from you is actually being truly and authentically who you are. And from that, you're able to probably build something that is far more of value and far more sustainable to really
impact. It's like creating something that is an extension of yourself, something that is a part of you. So the question that I want to ask you is, you were talking about success. Mm-hmm. And obviously, success is a very interesting topic. Mm-hmm. Everyone has his own different idea of success. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what does success mean to you?
To me personally, I like that question. I think my favorite definition so far, and I really like this, Bob Dylan, the singer-songwriter, said, if a man gets up in the morning and he goes to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants to do, then he's a success. I love that definition. It's a beautiful definition. For me, the only act of true success is to become who you are. This saying came to me once, is to be authentically yourself. So for me, success is being authentically myself, to be myself and to embrace life, and to allow that which I am, and that which the skills and talents that I have, for them to naturally blossom. So for me, I look at it very naturally and organically. You know, a tree, a seed will become a tree or a plant or whatever, and that thing. It's about connecting to yourself in order that you naturally are, the passions, the skills, the talents, that they will naturally blossom. Because if you think about it, what happens in life is that doesn't happen so often because of this noise. I should be this, I should be that, I'm not good at that. So when people are so busy trying to be someone else, they have no idea. This is the thing that I say to people. They've often got no idea how amazing they are, because they think they're not amazing and they think they should be somebody else. This is madness. It's complete madness. So the moment that you stop seeking, you start finding. So you start finding yourself and your magic, and you reconnect to happiness, because happiness is the thing that ultimately you want, and from there you can really just blossom and be who you are. Because also the thing is, it's not about what you do, it's about really who you are. What you do will be a manifestation based on who it is that you actually are. Do you see what I mean? So if I'm connected to myself, then I can really, if I'm making cakes, I can serve the best cakes to Simone. If I'm a hairdresser, then I can be the best hairdresser I am. If I'm a tailor, I can be the best tailor I am, whatever it is. But how can I be that if I'm not happy in myself? I'm not going to be able to give my best to anybody, myself or anybody else in my life.
It's definitely true. And when you're talking so about success in terms of being authentic, being who you are, and being happy with who you are and finding yourself, what about all the people that are saying, because there might be some people listening here, and they are saying, you know what about all the money or the cars or my dreams and goals? Are not this part of success? What do you think?
Yeah, the playful part of me wanted to say, what about the money? What about the cars? Yeah, it's great. It's fine to have these things, and we will all have things that we want. You know, that's part of being material. But the thing is, and I'm glad you asked this question, because there's two questions in life. There's the spiritual question and the material question. So the spiritual question is, who am I? How can I find myself? How can I be true to myself? The authentic stuff we talked about. Then there's the material question. Okay, what do I want to do with my life that feels true to me? And then the other, how I want, the material things that come along with it. So the material things are fine to have, that they look nice, don't they? They're nice to wear and so on, and to have before they rust or before they fall away or before they have a hole in it, so I need to buy a new one. So do you know what I mean? So that But the thing is about the success, and very few people talk about this, Simone, so I'm glad we're talking about that now. Very few people talk about this when they talk about success. Success may come, it may go. You know, I was pursuing something like singing. If I'm an athlete now and I want to be success, and let's say I'm a 100-meter runner, I want to be the gold medalist. I want to win Olympic gold. Only one person is going to win Olympic gold every 4 years. Only one. And not only that, but when I'm trying to win my Olympic gold, anything could happen. I could be injured during training. I may not even make it to the Olympics. So I think that success is a wonderful thing, and it's good to aspire to, but we need to look at it with real reality. Now, for me, a real champion knows that even before I run a race, I'm a champion. I'm a champion. I'm great. Then, do you know what I mean? I double my odds of success. So, but the spirit, you know, the material things are fine, but remember that the material things, fun enough, will not give you happiness. I can tell you directly that because I've worked with so many singers and performers who, and people in the entertainment industry. I'm not saying that they're all unhappy. Many of them are very happy, but lots of people who've got lots of the success things we want, the car, the house, the partner, the ideal body shape, are they any other happier? Often not. Have all their money problems gone away? No, they've got different money problems because instead of trying to make money, they're trying to keep it. So for me, along my journey, that's what I've discovered. I've discovered that there's lots of myths around success and happiness. But success, don't get me wrong, is a beautiful thing. If you can realize that, you know what, here's a lovely red pen with a face on it, and that's what it is. Here's a lovely car, and I can drive it. It's got a lovely wheel. Here's a beautiful house. It's beautiful. Can I afford it? Fine. But that's not. But that's not what people remember. People remember that Simone's a wonderful spirit who's helped them find themselves. That's what people remember. That Mary was a wonderful mother or a wonderful sister or a wonderful friend who helped me feel so good at life. Nobody's going to remember. Nobody. Yeah, we're going to be impressed by it, but that's not what makes people deeply, deeply, deeply respect you.
Indeed, and pardon me. When we are talking about success, in this case, we are aware that our beliefs shape our life. And the invitation here, what I'm hearing you saying is, what do you believe to be true about success? Do you believe that success is something external or is something internal?
Yeah.
And if you give your success to everything that is external, as soon as that goes away, because as you said, like life is change. And things come and go. So if your things are there, you can feel successful, but when they are not there anymore, what happened?
Right, exactly. You're so right. You're so right, because the thing is about, and I'd also say, you know, don't just take Rasheed Ogunlaru's word for it. Look at it scientifically. You know, because then success, something may come, it may well go. It's gonna last for a particular period of time. I wanted to be, you know, when I was saying in my story, I wanted to be a successful singer. I wanted to have #1 albums and so on. It didn't happen. I'm glad it didn't happen because in a way I found what I was meant to do. I'm meant to be, you know. So, and even as a coach, I might have certain aspirations. Some of those things may happen. Some of them may not happen. But for me, real success is just, you see, I have a saying, you know, Simone, and this saying came to me, you know, your job is to do your job with all your heart to the best of your own ability. Life will go its own merry way at its own merry pace. But if you do, then you and life will be the better for it. Because that is so important. So my job is just to be me, the best I can be me. Life is going to go its own thing. Something's going to work for me, something's going to work against me. But if I am myself, then I will be better for it and life will be better for it. Because otherwise the problem is that, oh, I didn't get a #1 record. Oh, I didn't become the chief executive, but I became the deputy chief executive. I'm a failure. That's crazy.
What you're saying is about, like, really the shift is like, instead of focusing on who you already are and what you already have, start focusing on who you're not, what you don't have, all the things that you're missing, and your life just becomes I don't have, I am not, I will, I won't, blah blah blah. That is cluttering completely our mind, and obviously is not going to help us living this happy, joyful, fulfilled life that we really want to live. What I want to ask you, really, Rasheed, now is about your book,
Hmm.
Soul Trader. Why? That's an interesting title.
Yeah.
What moved you to call your book in this way, Soul Trader?
It's got a beautiful cover too.
Oh,
I love the
there he is. There he is.
there it is. And
Brilliant cover.
you
Love
know
that.
the funny thing is my first book was called The Gift of Inner Success because for the reason that you had said before, because for me the everything begins with inside, the heart. And I love this idea that success, what about, because we see it so external, what about this inner? So for me, the starting point is this self. Who am I? And to embrace myself, because then that's the real win. Because once I'm at peace with myself, there's real contentment. And funny enough, when I would first written that, I was so wanting to get a publishing deal, this, that, and that, and it didn't happen. I self-published it myself. And then, funny enough, with Soul Trader, I wasn't looking at that moment to publish a book or what have you. Somebody came to one of my workshops and they happened to work in the publishing industry. How crazy is that? They happened to, I'd been trying before, wanting for years and years to publish a book. And then when I wasn't thinking about it, I happened to meet somebody. They asked, we got chatting. I invited them to another workshop of mine. And they said to me, "Oh, Rashid, are you thinking of writing another book?" Because they knew I'd self-published 2 books. And I, of course, said yes. So so I said yes.
Of
I
course,
went,
even if you were not thinking about writing a book, the answer in that moment is yes, of course.
yeah, because I'm ready for opportunities, right? So then so I went home and I had this idea for this thing called Soul Trader, building your business by heart. Because for me, I wanted to write something. I'm a creative person. So I know, for example, as a singer, 1 minute there's no song, the next minute a song comes into your head. So I wanted to write a book about all of those invisible things, all those, a bit like the gift of inner success, all of those things people don't talk about, from which you can build a business. Compassion, embracing change, just cooperation. So the things that are really at the fundamental core of business, because so many people feel as though business isn't for them, but so many people, you'll meet these people, they are trainers, they're healers, they're therapists, they're doing so many wonderful things, they're artists, they're this, so many different people are wonderful people, and they often forget to either use their creativity or their heart or their people skills. So I wanted to write a book about how you can build a business by being yourself and by using those particular skills of being clear, just connecting to your customers, courage, cooperation, compassion, embracing change, and creativity. So it's a book about just building, because everything else for me, last thing I'll say about this, everything else is an overlay. The money, the internet, this is all overlay. What you've got your skills, I've got my skills. One person bakes bread, another person creates milk, and it's an exchange. Money, everything else is an overlay. So this book is about that realization of what's at the core, and then just operating and then connecting, communicating, sharing, and building a business from those skills and those particular talents.
And it looks like very unique because sometimes I have a lot of people asking me the question, so how can you really start a business with compassion, with love, with service? Like these are kind of skills that don't go very along with the classical business way that we see the word. And sometimes if business needs to be cold and needs to be detached, and we need to use really big words that people won't understand, while as you're saying, we can really create a business from our heart, being true to ourselves, serving our customer with love, and is a new way, is a new paradigm. How do you finding running a business in this way compared to the other way?
And for me now, there is no other way. And I think it links to the first thing we're talking about, isn't it? Because this talk is called finding yourself, finding your path. So only if I am authentically myself can I be authentically myself. Do you see what I mean? So sometimes maybe we're wanting to run a business in a certain way, but if I haven't done that work, it's a bit like, well, you and I, we're both in this personal development field of coaches and so on. Unless I've coached myself, unless I've done that work, how can I coach anybody else? I don't have the skills, I don't have the ability, I don't have the mindfulness, I can't do it. So I've got to go on that journey and be authentic to what I'm talking about. So the beautiful thing, just like being an athlete, there's no shortcuts. Finding yourself, there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. But strangely, although there's no shortcut, it's very direct, because finding yourself is embracing yourself and embracing life. But what happens through that is that more and more you become more and more authentic, and you trust. Because, for example, in my own case, Simone, when I first trained as a coach, and I had all this stuff about wanting to do stuff from the heart, and all sorts of things was emerging for me, and I wasn't sure how it would sit with business, just like you were asking. I wasn't sure, when I had this book, The Gift of Inner Success, and my main tagline is called Become Who You Are. I thought, now, how are people going to respond to this stuff? How are people going to feel about it? Like the people in music or people in business? And I wasn't sure about it, first of all, and I had to trust it. And the funniest thing, Simone, was that over a period of time, that's why, consciously or unconsciously, people come to me. So if I didn't trust these things that were happening for me, the gift of inner success, the become who you are approach, and the soul direct, nothing would have happened for me. So sometimes you're so trying to be you're so trying to go the ordinary way, the way that you think everybody else goes, you never find your own way. All I can tell anyone who's listening to this is that if you follow your heart, if you trust yourself, magic will happen. I don't know what it will look like for you, but I guarantee that your life will be so rich in more ways than you can imagine, but not necessarily in the ways that you imagine, because for the first time, you'll be at peace, you'll be content, you won't be thrown by everything that's going on, and you'll be grateful for everything that happens to you, and strangely, you'll even be grateful for some of the things that don't happen to you, too.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's very fun, Rasheed, what you're saying in terms of being grateful of the thing that don't happen to you, because sometimes it's really easy to be ungrateful or to be judgmental or to criticize all the things that don't happen. But as you're saying, once you really find yourself, once you really find your path, once you really follow your heart, that's when things change in life. It's a nice, peaceful stillness. And it's not that challenges don't happen. Challenges keep happening, and sometimes even bigger and stronger, because you want more and you want to attract more, and you are in this path. So life gives you and say those challenges to say, are you ready for this? I'm preparing you. So it's not that challenges don't happen, but what happened is that it's much easier to put things into perspective, to say, instead of being caught up in the problem and say, oh my God, I have this, I have that, blah, 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 it can be more about, oh, I'm grateful for the learning that I'm receiving.
You're so right.
It might piss me off in the moment, because sometimes they come in ways where I'm like, ah! But then after, it's just a moment, and then you realize and you filter for the lessons and you realize what the learning really is.
Right.
And then you're ready to move on the spirit, right?
Right. And that's such an important point, because the thing is, sometimes in life, I think that I want to achieve this big success, I want to climb mountains. But you know what? Sometimes I say to people, okay, how big, I say at the beginning of the book, how big do you dream? And then what's going to be involved in that? Because if I want to climb mountains, that's going to be years and years of training. I'm going to need to have a team. I'm going to need to understand the mountain. I'm going to need to have ropes, pulleys, all the equipment. It's going to cost a fortune. It's going to take a lot of things, and the risks are higher. But you know what? Do I want that, or do I just want to climb some foothills? You know what? Sometimes when people really ask themselves what they really want, do I actually want that? Because if you look at somebody who's really successful, and if you think that that's easy, it's not necessarily easy to get there, and it's not necessarily easy to sustain it. So this quote came to me once, and this quote was, the world is already yours. Why try and conquer it? And I personally love that quote, and I think there's something in that for me personally too. The world is already yours. Why try to conquer it? So sometimes when you know that you are already magical, that you know that you're already a champion, you will be stiller, that lovely word that you use, you'll be stiller. So that therefore the things that you go after, or the things that you do, are the things that really ring deeply true to you. Because even with myself, with the things I want to do, I'll be doing this or doing that, and each thing brings with it a lot of work, and sometimes I have to ask myself, actually, am I interested in that? So, but if you're content within yourself, and I'm not talking about being lazy or resting on your laurels or any of this, but I think if you're more at peace with yourself, your need to do lots of things eases, and then everything that you do with such a grateful heart. Funny enough, you're probably not going to stop creating things, but you're going to be far more mindful. You're going to be creating things that are really important to you or for others, and you're going to enjoy the journey far more than when it's just success, success, and only when I'm at the top of the mountain am I worthy, and so on.
Yes, indeed. So now we are sadly at the time for wrapping up. And as usual, what we want to leave our audience with, and all of you that you are listening today, is with practical action steps to take. So, Rashid, on a concluding here, what kind of action step would you recommend? If there may be like just three things, okay, three things would recommend for people on how they can find themselves and finding their path.
Mhm.
What can they do practically can help them in this journey? What would you suggest?
Right. One, embrace yourself as you are today and embrace life as it is. Sometimes it's going to be rainy, sometimes it's going to be sunny. Embrace that. That's so important, because if you don't, everything is going to be a battle. Because sometimes what you're going to do, there's no way you can change it from being rainy to sunny, or from sunny to rainy. It's how it is. So embrace yourself and life itself. That's number one. It is number one. It's in fact number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But that's number one. Right? That's number one. Number one. Number two, maybe list what's really most dear to your heart, what's most important to you in your life or in your career and in relationships. So what is really most important to you, and what are the things you're passionate about, and where are your skills? And because as you were saying, then it's a question of how can I follow those? So that's important. So what I'm saying there, with be clear what's really important to you and follow that. Because it might be the case that lots of things that are really important to you, you already have. I've already got friends, I've already got some family, I've already got this. Just it's going to make the journey smoother and clearer, and you're going to be far more focused. I think then the third and final thing is, be on your own side, back yourself, but also look for those people who can support you on that journey, because you're not going to be able to do any of that alone. So if you embrace life and you embrace yourself, if you're clear about who you are and what's really important to you, and if you build a rich network of people who truly care about you. I'm not talking about lots of the social I love social networks, but lots of people, it's meaningless, it's nonsense a lot of the time, because lots of people have no friends off when they're not on Facebook. I mean real rich relationships that you might also therefore have on top of there. Trust that. Build people who can help you, mentor you, coach you, be friends. You don't need to have a hired coach. I'm just saying a team of people who've been there, done that, friends, all sorts of different people who can help you with each challenge, because you can't do it alone. So those would be my 3 pieces of advice, and that will move you forward.
Brilliant. So to recap, we have embrace yourself, clarity. So embrace yourself as you are, have clarity in what you really want to do, and also build a solid network that can support you when things are not going maybe in the way you want, and can celebrate also your successes when things are really smashing. And this is what is going to drive you forward.
And one last thing to say on that, which is important.
Indeed.
Do that with heart. Be kind to them. So often I'm wanting me, for these people to do this for me. Life doesn't work that way. Be so giving of your own heart to those people that you meet. Then magic will happen. All paths will then lead back to Rome, because you are so warm of heart that people will be drawn to you. They want to support you as well, but use your heart to support those people as well. It's incredibly important, and then you will fast track things.
I remember our first conversation, if you remember, on the phone, when I asked you, how can I support you? And your reaction was, what kind of question is that? It's like, generally, it's me asking this question. Not very often I receive people, and it's sad sometimes why, in particular in networking, people go there and think about what can I get instead of what can I give first. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think it was, I don't remember if it was Zig Ziglar or Brian Tracy saying, if you help people achieving their goals, they will help you return. Mm-hmm. So your task is to help as many people as possible achieving what they want to achieve, and they will be on your side forever. So yeah, this is a really powerful. So this is a really powerful way to conclude and to finish this again fantastic webinar of GTEx show that we had today with Rasheed. Uh, One last question, Rasheed. If people want to know more about you and where to find your amazing workshops or your website, can you please share with us how can people find you?
Thank you. Yeah, you can find me on my website, which is www.rosario. So that's R for Rashid, A for Apple, S for Sugar, A for Apple, R for Rashid, U for Umbrella, rosario.com. Or you can go to soultrader.biz. So that's soul as in heart and soul, dash trader.biz. And that's got lots of free resources if you're thinking about being your own boss. But my website is rosario.com. And you'll find me in the books and everything else, the workshops, the talks, and lots of stuff there. Thank you.
And also I can recommend as well is an incredible podcast. So I think you can find the Soul Trader on iTunes.
That's right. You can find Soul Trader on iTunes or via the website. Yeah. Thank
Or
you very
by the
much.
website. I listen to all of them. I highly endorse them. They kept me one entire afternoon of admin work, and you all know I'm a really creative person, so you can imagine how much I love admin work. So that gave me the motivation and the passion to go through all my admin. So thank you, Rashid, for creating that podcast because you made my day that day.
And thank you for inviting me here. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful. And just to say to you, I think you're doing wonderful work through the wonderful spirit that you are. And you have a very good way of just sharing warmly that spirit. So there's nothing for me more amazing than that, when somebody just genuinely, in every situation, it's not just when you're giving a talk, but when you meet somebody in the street, I know that you have that same enthusiasm and that same excitement. So I want to thank you for the things that you're doing and for being who it is that you are.
Thank you, and you're really welcome. So is all done for today. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for being the amazing being that you are, because the world needs people like you.
Thank you
The
very much.
world needs people like you that spend and invest your time, money, effort in order to be the best person that you can possibly be. Because just in this way you can create the life that you really want, being authentic to yourself, and also help and inspire the people that you really want to help. If you want to find out more about our courses and workshops, or if you want to find out all the free GTEx shows that we have on our website, you can find us on www.gtex.org.uk. Thank you very much again for being with us. Thank you, Rashid. It's been a pleasure. Give us a wave. Yes, awesome.
See you, everyone.
And I'm looking forward seeing you next week. And remember, live with purpose. Ciao. And